Hello, everyone. Welcome to our weekly discussion series that's hosted by the Chaldean Cultural Center in collaboration with U of M Detroit Center, Unique Voices in Films, and CMN TV. I'm your host, Wiam Nemu. Today, our guest is Mr. Thamur Hindo. Welcome, Thamur.
You are welcome. Thank you for having me.
So, Thamur is an accredited Iraqi civil engineer who managed and accomplished numerous buildings and road projects. He was appointed to complete construction projects in the heart of the archaeological site of the ancient city of Babel in the late 1980s. Being proud of the heritage and civilizations of his country that are recorded in texts of the Holy Bible, and for those reasons, the idea began to develop into the belief that God devoted him to the diligence work of producing his book, The Holy Bible and Archaeology of Mesopotamia, which I have here, and I had the pleasure of reading. People can see. So your book is available on Amazon. It's a very, very interesting book, Thamur. From the beginning, you start talking about your background in Iraq, and I thought that was very, very fascinating, especially the part where you worked on a project that started in 1989, where Saddam wanted to improve the ancient city of Babel. Can you share that experience with us, please? What was that project and what was your involvement in it?
Yeah, as you mentioned, I was appointed to work for 2 consecutive years in the late 80s in the heart of the archaeological site in the ancient city of Babylon. And the name of the project was the first stage of improvement, the ancient city of Babel, followed by the second stage, the second year in 1989. But the third stage was deleted or declined due to the invasion of Kuwait by the Iraqi army. And instead, in 1991, we were like engaged in rebuilding the bridge of Al Jamhuriya, which is in the center of Baghdad. And after it was bombed by the Allied army led by the United States. And actually, after that, I was appointed to, this is my masterpiece in Iraq. This is the last thing almost before I departed. I was appointed to design and implement and supervise the final layers of the bridge of Jamhuriya in the center of Baghdad. And I was appointed by the highest authority in Iraq in person, addressing a letter to me. And I was really happy with doing that. And this is like very brief things what happened to me while I'm doing this thing. But about the 2 consecutive years that I worked in the archaeological site, I'm very proud of my heritage, as you mentioned in that introduction. So when you see the procession road of the kings of Babylonia and you see the Nebuchadnezzar palaces at your left-hand side, which overlooking one of the branches of Euphrates River, and behind you there is a Babylonian theater, and on your left there is Marduk temple building, and you are in the middle with all of your native Iraqi archaeologists, and you work over there. Of course, I am proud of this heritage and civilization, knowing that Babylon is the first city among 4 cities when Namrud in Genesis 10 built it as a foundation for the first empire on earth, Babylonia. So and before he go to Assyria to build another 4 cities. So it was Babylon the first city, and then Erech, and then Akkad, and then Kalna. And Erech, everybody should know that Erech it meaning Iraq, which is biblical Erech, and Uruk, it is the Babylonian previous name to Erech, and the modern name to it is Warka in Arabic. And the first, knowing that the writing is started 3,300 BC in that city, and we knew from the unearthed treasures that that's why the archaeologists after that they called it cradle of civilization, or the earliest civilization on Earth. That's why of course, I'm proud of my heritage, and I was so happy when I worked there, and very optimistic, and especially
Yeah,
when
that's
you work on your soil of your country.
yeah, I mean, it sounds very beautiful. These are the places that we read about. We read about in the Bible, we read about in history books, and there you are in the middle of the whole environment. And to top it off, it's your, ancestral land. So that's very beautiful. At the same time, you were going through, there was things going on that were bringing damage to that site, and you had to witness that as well. And what was the damage that was being inflicted?
Uh, well, um, well, the damages. Let me tell you something.
Because you
Uh,
mentioned them on two occasions where it happened while once the dam.
I witnessed something. Yeah, yeah. There is, if I'm talking, saying what is the damages over there, or there's another author talking about the damages or the improvement of the city, it's better to let the institutions and organization official to report that, because I don't want to say, okay, I'm native Iraqi, I'm talking about this. So I'm going to read just one sentence here.
Great.
I wrote in the page 31 of my book, the UNESCO previously declined to list Babylonia, or Babylon, city in Babylonia, as a World Heritage Site on the grounds that restoration and rebuilding work carried out there under Saddam Hussein had badly distorted the original archaeological site. And second, in page 31 my book, I wrote the UNESCO said in 2009 report that U.S. troops and contractors in Iraq inflicted extensive damage on Babylonian, driving heavy vehicles over sacred paths and bulldozing hilltops on what UN called unquestionably one of the most important archaeological site in the world. The most important archaeological site in the world. This is what was reported from Reuters, UNESCO, and United States institutions and organizations. So the damage caused by uh, doing this project inside the heart of the archaeology place, because I was in charge to do that mountain of Saddam, which is a structure just in the middle where the places that I mentioned it, like over there,
Can
the
you,
lion.
can you mention a little bit what was that mountain? That was actually one of my questions, but you talk
Yeah.
about Saddam's mountain. What was Saddam's mountain? And that was the reason that there was things that were being done that really were not very good for that site.
Okay, it was a structure, a huge hill, like sandy hill, compacted by gravel and sand, like it was a foundation for a palace will be built after. The height of that big hill, which Saddam called it Saddam Mountain, and I was in charge for directing this project. It's about 80 meters above the water table of Euphrates River, and it's a branch, it's the same elevation. And we did at the final stage like a spiral road to reach the top of the summit. And that summit is supposed to build a palace above it. And this palace is overlooking all of the archaeological sites and also the river. And it is higher, as I mentioned, higher than any structure in ancient Babylonia, higher than the high walls and fences of Ishtar gates, of the procession road of the kings, higher than Marduk, or Marduk temple building, higher than any structure. So now, the heavy shovels and turnbull and graders and trucks and all of these construction materials, when go through that archaeological site, uh, I mean, it's easy to say it's not right because that was one of the damages. That's what I'm like that I mentioned exactly what it is. I don't want to go through
Yeah,
details.
you go through details. That's why it's really great if anybody's interested in this topic,
Yeah.
to read the book, because you go into great detail. But it's, it must have been very difficult though when you're there and you're realizing what's happening, but you really can't voice yourself, correct? You're just kind of, everybody has to just kind of be on board with the process.
What? Well, look, when I was working at that place, like maybe 20 feet on my right side, there is a road. They call it the procession road of the kings. It started from there, from Ishtar Gate. This is one. That's what's showing here.
Mhm.
I just received it at the Christmas by my brother-in-law.
They
No,
know
and
what
I
you
wrote
like,
it for.
right?
No, I was thinking this gate through this opening, it go like a street. They call it the procession road of the kings, and go all the way to the river, to Euphrates River. Those layers, I was asking one of my native archaeology. I told him, why there is a layers of asphalt over there? What's going on? He told me, okay, we increase the elevation of those asphalt because the water table of Euphrates become increasing, and those king, every like Nabopolassar and Nebuchadnezzar, he came and he built another procession road and become like 7, 8 layers. And by the way, proudly to say, after they took core like like us like as civil engineers, when we take a core test inside that asphalt, we see it is very parallel to the British specification. Iraqi engineers, they adopt the British specification for those material to execute this kind of like asphalt or concrete or whatever you cast over there or the bricks. So when they test it, which was like executed before 600 or 500 year before Jesus Christ BC, they see it exactly parallel to the British specification. So that was amazing when I
Wow.
was.
Yeah, I've never heard
I
of
mean,
that.
one of the things. Well, one another thing. One of the, as I mentioned, one time in my break, one of the Yugoslavian archaeologists, he was on the wheelchair, pushed by his aide or his student. It tried to walk from the Ishtar, and he was prevented from the authority. So I let him in, and he said one of the places where Saddam built the palace, it represents the foundation of the Tower of Babylon, which mentioned in Genesis 11. So I told them, okay, you talk to me only, don't talk to somebody else. And he tell me, thank you for having me here. But this is the truth. I mean, still the Tower of Babel supposedly existed on Borseba. Borseba is 18 mile southwest of Babylon, and Babylon was larger than when you see only Babel, the city archaeological site. It go all the way to Hilla. It go like 20 kilometers from each side. So 18 kilometers southwest of Babylon city, the center, were one of the places where the Tower of Babel was built.
So, with all this information that you witnessed and being part of this whole archaeology process and the biblical things that are associated, information that is associated with archaeology, and I guess this is what your book is mostly about, is that comparison. You talk about that between 1848 and 1876 from the Library of Esarhaddon. There was the Epic of Creation that was recovered, and
Ashurbanipal, actually.
yeah, okay, and then
Yeah. Well,
there was other, like a lot of other text that is similar to the stories in the Bible. So how can archaeologists help us achieve a better understanding of the Bible based
okay.
on what they discovered? And some of the stories, wouldn't you say, have some contradictions or different information?
Okay. Before we go to the archaeological part, I have to say something important. I will give an example on a brilliant writer. His name is Merrill Unger. Merrill Unger, he did the archaeology and the Bible, or actually his book was the archaeology and the Old Testament. He didn't mention the Bible as the New Testament and the Old Testament. And he relied on all of the texts of the Bibles to enable him to do the archaeological work. So, and the proof of that, Merrill Unger by himself, who published that book in 1954 in Grand Rapids, Zondervan, the publishing house. It is very familiar. It is in Michigan. That was in 1954. We knew that Merrill Unger by himself, he published the dictionary of the Bible, the great dictionary of the Bible. So he relied on all of the texts of the Bible to do his work. And actually, nobody can do this archaeology work unless profoundly study all of the texts of the Bible. So the one could succeed the other one and verify the other one. For example, let me tell you something. We knew from Genesis that Noah, he built an ark, and that ark go after the flood all the way to Ararat, where is Ararat or Armenia, on that mountains. But it didn't mention in the Holy Bible that where is the city started that flood, or where the flood started from. But the archaeologists, they found Erido, which is 10 kilometers south of Ur. It is the city of the creation and the city of the flood at the same time, and there's a proof. And I go back now to your question. Actually, Ashurbanipal, there are three archaeologists or scientists. One of them, his name Austin Layard, and the other Joseph Smith, and the third one, Hermes Rassam, which is his Iraqi archaeologist. Between 1848 and 1876, they unearth over there in the soil of Nineveh, and uncover the Enuma Elish, or the Epic of Creation. That's in the library of Ashurbanipal. That was in 650 BC. We know Ashurbanipal reigned from 668 to 626. But from 668, so the list date is 650, it means 18 years after 668, in the time of Ashurbanipal. And this one is very important. They uncover 7 clay tablets, consists of approximately 1,000 lines talking about the Epic of Creation. They call it Enuma Elish, as I mentioned, and talking about many things like the gods of nations, like Marduk, the chief god of Babylon, and the principal god of Babylon, and what was his like accomplished over there. A lot of things about the creation of the mankind. In the Holy Bible, we know that God, the Lord, the Adonai, who created Adam and Eve, but those archaeological documents revealed that Marduk like he gave an advice to the main Sumerian god, to create the seed of mankind. by the assistant of Aruru, goddess. It's not one god like Aliha, goddess. And this story, we see this. We cannot, like, I want to say something. This archaeological documents, it's very rigid and solid material, and also for the Bible, we cannot change it. We just want to review it. That's why when I put it in the book, I put it in separate account. I have 7 chapters in the book. The first 6 chapters divided in 2 parts. Part 1 is the biblical texts, and the second one is the archaeological documents. And I want the readers to review them carefully. And I have also, I put my perspective and point of view, how I can see things. I put it in 57 stations, from station 1 to 57. And there's about 147 references. I put it in the footnote in Chicago style. I don't want to put it in the last of the pages. I don't want the readers go back and forth and see where I was talking about. So, and there's also about 117 illustrated picture.
Yes, and the pictures are very well done too. They're very
I put
clear.
it between
Very,
those parts. So
and the nice thing about the pictures is that you include for each picture, each image has a very interesting description, you know, that is associated with it that I found was very helpful as well. These are some of them. So what would you say, you know, why is this book important? What was the purpose of this book? That I know that, how many years did it take you to put a book like this together?
Well, the idea came like 15 years ago, from 15 to 18 years ago. And I was before archaeology, I keep on reading the verses of the Bible. And actually, even if you do this kind of book, the publisher asks you from where you adopt this information. They want to know. And it's not like anybody can write anything. We have only one Holy Bible, but there's versions of it. The Holy Bible started 1691 when King James authorized the Holy Bible. That's why they call it the Authorized Bible, or King James Authorized Bible. And after that, I adopted 3 or 4 references from from the versions of the Bible, from New International NIV, which is the New International Version, and ESV, English Standard Version, and a New King James Version also. And all of these paragraphs are similar. The only thing, some of them, the paragraph like talking like literally word by word, when they translated IV talking like about the paragraph, they try to explain it exactly for that paragraph, what does that mean, but it's the same. And after I did that, I study also the archaeology, and I do try to do those connections. For example, Marduk, that we talking about it a while ago, he also was not only in charge in mankind creation, he also created the 2 rivers, Tigris and Euphrates. And we know from the Bible that those rivers, beside Gihon and Fishon, was created in Genesis 2:11, and the other 2 rivers were disappeared due to the flood. And that's.
You know, I want to ask.
So the purpose is, I mean, there is a lot. I mean, you cannot. You say one or two purposes, but as I said in the summary of the Bible, I said the Bible was the main reason to succeed the archaeologists, to know where is, for example, Ur of the Chaldeans, or where Abraham departed from to go to Canaan, to passing by Haran, for example. So they would not know the archaeologists unless they have those information from the Holy Bible. This is the important part of this. And also, when, as I said, the archaeologists verified that the Holy Bible is right. So This is the important of it. The
So
one verify the other.
I have a question. So you emphasize, when we've talked before, and even today earlier, you were talking about the name Iraq, where it came from, and how it was Mesopotamia and the meaning of that. And then you said the word Iraq came from Uruk, and I'm wondering then how come over the years when I've really tried to research this, and there's a lot of misinformation or different information saying that they don't know the roots of that word, or that the root is that uh, means roots. Iraq means
Up-
roots, and that's where they got it from. Why isn't there enough information about where the name, and why was it changed from Mesopotamia? I know it was during the British period, but I'm really curious about why isn't there enough information about the roots of the word Iraq?
Okay, no, actually the ancient name of Iraq is Mesopotamia, and who called that name is the Greek. And the proof, I don't want to go something outside the Holy Bible. The proof in Acts in the New Testament, Stephanos, which is Stephen, he wrote that our God, our God appeared to Abraham while he was still in Mesopotamia before he departed to Haran. So he put separation between this place and the other destination. And from there, we knew that Mesopotamia, meaning exactly, literally mean from two words, mesos, which is in the middle of, and Ptemos, which is rivers. So Mesopotamia. And because if you look at the map of Iraq, you see about 200 archaeological sites between Nineveh and Babel, all the way to Far, or to the Gulf of Persia, Gulf of Al-Khalij, or Al-Khalij al-Arabi. So you will see that he was distinguished that word, saying is Mesopotamia. So it is not the Assyrian, they call it, not the British, they called that name, but the Greek. And the proof that was 34 AD when Stephanos wrote in Greek in the New Testament, and he called that
Right, but
that
it
ancient
was the
Iraq.
British, but it was the British that changed it to Iraq, correct?
No, the British, they didn't. It's still, you can say, we can say Bilad Ma Bain al-Nahrain, we can say Iraq, but Iraq is not the British they call Iraq. As I mentioned, it is from Eric, Erech, and it is the biblical name of Uruk, Uruk, which is the old Akkadian or Babylonian expression. And the new one is Warkab. And if you see Iraq, R, Alif, K. So Eric, look, if I look again to this Iraq and Ishtar, you see Ishtar is here. The original is Ashtaroth, start with A. So it does not start
That's right.
with I. So
Right.
Iraq is coming from Arak. Arak, from Arak, and this is Iraq. And why they call it, the British, they call it the archaeologists, and they call it because they found the first writing 3,300 in Iraq, and that's why this is the first writing on the first surface of Earth, and that's why they call Iraq as Iraq.
Okay.
And this is the modern name of Mesopotamia, the ancient.
Modern name. Last question. We only have like a minute left. I know this is a big question, but there's, you talk about the fulfilled prophecies, the Bible's prophecies, fulfilled prophecies, and the upcoming events for Nineveh. Can you summarize that?
Okay. This is one of the best questions you have now. Why I said this? Look, because the archaeologists and the uncover treasures in Babylonia or in Mesopotamia, they couldn't find documents talking about the future, the past, the present of Iraq. In that case, if when we do this connection, we have to go to the Holy Bible. The Holy Bible talk about the fulfilled prophecies that's already was taking place in Iraq through three main prophets: Nahum, Isaiah, and Zephaniah. And they were talking about the collapse and fall of Assyria, and after that, the prophet talking about the collapse of Babylonia. They said the arrogant Assyria uh, punished or judged, and that's what's in the Holy Bible. And after God said through those prophets, after 100 years, around 100 plus minus, actually Assyria collapsed and also Babylonia collapsed. This is the fulfilled prophecies that were already in the Old Testament. The last part of the book of the chapter 7, it's about the upcoming event or prophecy. Thus, we see it in Revelation. They will talk about, especially in Revelation 14 and 16, it's about the Euphrates River will get dry and will get lower. And then there is too much details over there. I let the writer, the readers, they write these details. So it didn't happen. It never happened now, but it will happen. We believe, like a Christian, they believe that this event, the same way the fulfilled prophecy happened before in the Old Testament, the upcoming event that mentioned in Revelation, it will happen, especially, as I said, mentioned in Revelation 14 and 16, exactly about Mesopotamia. And by the way, and those two, and all of the Revelation, they are not mentioning anything about Egypt, about China, about Asia Minor, only what happened over there before the end of time. So it is very interesting to see that the last part, and I made the finishing for that book by this.
Yeah, it's really, the whole book is very interesting. Again, the book is called The Holy Bible and Archaeology of Mesopotamia, and you can purchase it on Amazon by Thamur Hindo. It's a very, very good book, and it's actually not a very difficult read. It's a longer book, but it's I think I like how you
Yeah,
divide it into the
one
sections.
point I have. If you open this page, because the version that you have, I enlarged this picture in one. So I did another version in August. You see,
Okay,
I did it.
what page is that?
That was in. Let me see. Oh, yeah. Like you see, for example, those.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, so you
Like
made the images. Yeah, yeah, I have that.
okay, okay, good. Because
I
I have one version. It's actually 402 402 pages. While the one that you have it is about 376. There's that.
Yes, correct, correct.
Yeah. And you have.
Well, thank you
Yeah,
very
I
much,
mean,
Mr. Hindu. It was a very nice interview. You have a lot of information, but again, to understand it better, people need to read the book. So I appreciate your time and thank you everybody for watching. Have a wonderful day.
thank you for having me, Miss William. God bless you.